Welcome, car lovers. There is a moment in every great business drama when the camera stops moving, the music fades and the numbers are allowed to speak for themselves. Not the marketing numbers, not the glossy brochure figures, the real ones, the uncomfortable ones. Here is one of them. Lucid Motors loses roughly $400,000 on every single car it sells. Not per year, not per quarter, per car. Without one very specific checkbook, this company would have vanished years ago quietly and without ceremony, its factories echoing like abandoned aircraft hangars in the desert. And that checkbook does not belong to Silicon Valley, Detroit, or Wall Street. It belongs to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. To understand Lucid's predicament, you must first strip away the romance. The Lucid Air is not a bad car. In many ways, it is a remarkable one. It is fast without being vulgar, technically accomplished without shouting about it. The range figures are genuine engineering achievements, not optimistic estimates whispered by marketing departments. This is an electric car built by people who understand electrons, not slogans. And yet, despite all of this, the company is bleeding money at a rate that would make even the most hardened venture capitalist quietly excuse himself from the room. Lucid's story is not really about cars. It is about patience, and whether patience, even when funded by sovereign wealth, has a limit. Because Lucid is not surviving on sales. It is surviving on life support. That life support has a name: the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. The PIF is not a typical investor. It does not attend quarterly earnings calls with nervous smiles and crossed fingers. It thinks in decades. It thinks in geopolitics. It thinks in national transformation. Saudi Arabia knows oil will not rule forever, so it is buying tickets to the future: technology, sports, entertainment, and electric vehicles. Lucid is one of those tickets. Over the years, the PIF has poured billions into Lucid, not millions, billions. Depending on how you count direct investments, loans, stock purchases, and guarantees, the figure sits comfortably in the high single-digit billions, and with that money came control. The PIF owns the majority of Lucid. This is not a partnership. This is guardianship. Without that money, Lucid's financial statements would read like a tragedy in 3 acts. Revenues rising slowly, costs remaining stubbornly colossal, and losses widening with grim consistency. Manufacturing cars, it turns out, is still one of the most brutally expensive games on earth. Tesla learned that the hard way. Most others never survived long enough to learn it at all. Lucid's factory is impressive, too impressive, perhaps designed for volumes that have not yet arrived, staffed by people who must be paid whether one car leaves the line or 1,000. Every empty parking space in that factory is not just empty space. It is money evaporating. This is where the Saudi money matters. It doesn't just fund growth. It absorbs mistakes. It allows Lucid to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars per volt vehicle and continue operating as if this were merely an early inconvenience rather than a terminal condition. But sovereign wealth is not charity. The PIF does not write blank checks forever. It has expectations, strategic ones, yes, political ones, possibly, but also financial ones, eventually. So the question becomes uncomfortable, but unavoidable. What happens if that money stops? Lucid's cash on hand versus its spending tells a story that no amount of optimism can fully soften. The company burns through billions each year: research, development, factory expansion, payroll, logistics, warranty reserves. The meter never stops running. At current burn rates, even generous cash reserves shrink quickly. Without new injections of capital, the runway shortens. Months become quarters, quarters become deadlines, and unlike a startup selling software subscriptions, Lucid cannot simply pivot. You cannot shrink a car company without breaking it. You cannot quietly turn off a factory and hope customers remain confident. Automotive confidence, once shaken, does not return easily, which brings us to the most puzzling part of the story: demand. Why, in a world supposedly desperate for electric vehicles, are people not lining up for Lucid? The answer is not singular, it is layered. First, the name. Lucid does not mean anything to most buyers over 55. It has no heritage, no racing victories, no childhood poster memories. Mercedes has a past, BMW has a past, even Tesla, for better or worse, has a mythology now. Lucid arrived quietly, politely, and expected excellence to speak for itself. Excellence rarely does. Second, the price. Lucid positioned itself directly into the upper reaches of the luxury market. This is a dangerous place to start. Buyers at this level are not merely buying transportation, they are buying reassurance, familiarity, a sense that the company will still exist when the warranty expires. When someone spends 6 figures on a car, they are not adventurous, they are cautious. Third, the absence of spectacle. Love him or loathe him, Elon Musk understands attention. Tesla does not sell cars. It sells a narrative of disruption, rebellion, and inevitability. Lucid sells engineering, and engineering, however admirable, does not trend well on social media or dinner conversations. Lucid's leadership speaks like engineers, calm, precise, earnest. That inspires confidence in laboratories. It does not always inspire desire in showrooms. There is also the matter of timing. The electric vehicle market has cooled. Incentives have shrunk. Early adopters have already adopted. What remains is the harder crowd. Skeptical buyers. Older buyers. Buyers who remember promises made and broken. And then there is competition. Relentless, well-funded, and increasingly competent competition. Traditional manufacturers are not moving quickly, but they are moving steadily. They already have dealer networks, service centers, brand loyalty built over generations. Lucid must build all of this from nothing while losing enormous sums of money in the process. So we arrive at the final act, the death clock. Lucid's survival is not measured in applause or reviews. It is measured in cash versus time, how much money remains, how fast it is being spent, and how patient the owner is willing to be. If the PIF continues to fund Lucid aggressively, the company can limp forward refining its products, waiting for scale, hoping for a moment when costs finally fall and demand finally rises. This is the long game. The very long game. If the PIF slows, hesitates, or decides that its capital is better deployed elsewhere, the story darkens quickly. Lucid does not have the luxury of self-sufficiency yet. Not even close. Could another investor step in? Possibly, but not easily. Any new investor would see the same numbers, the same burn rate, the same uncertainty, and they would demand control, restructuring, and painful cuts, none of which help a luxury brand inspire confidence. So here is the prediction, offered not as prophecy, but as sober assessment. Lucid does not collapse tomorrow, or next quarter, or even next year. As long as Saudi Arabia believes this company serves a strategic purpose, it will survive. It will continue to build cars. It will continue to lose money doing so. But Lucid's breaking point is not financial alone. It is psychological. It arrives when patience erodes. When the question quietly shifts from how much longer will this take, to why are we still doing this? When that moment comes, the end will not be dramatic. There will be no fiery bankruptcy headlines, just fewer updates, fewer investments, a gradual tightening, and then silence. Lucid is not a fraud. It is not incompetent. It is something far more troubling. It is a technically brilliant company trapped in a business reality that does not care about brilliance. And unless it finds not just buyers, but believers, the Saudi money pit will eventually reach its depth.